Mr. Guidarelli, are you there? Okay. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the December 29th, 2021 meeting of the Rotterdam Town Board. Ms. Marco, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Christo?
Present.
Mr. Guidarelli? Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Present.
Mr. Signor?
Present.
And Mr. Thomas?
Present.
5 present.
Okay, so we're going to first conduct our agenda review here for a few moments. The board's going to just review if anyone has any questions on any of these resolutions. I do know from council that we do have, there was we had applied for a grant and received a grant through the consolidated funding application for improvements, if you will, to Kiwanis Park. And that contract, everything is due, like now, for Barton and Judas to be engaged to help us with the completion of that. They were successful in getting, I forget the exact amount, but I believe it's over $200,000 in a grant. There's a 20% match, if I remember the math on this, and so 80% is grant. And there's a lot there that could be done with those funds, and I would ask the incoming administration to also engage with the county to talk about the expansion of the boat launch there for use for the sheriff's office and others. And also, as you may know, if you visited the boat launch, or I should say the park, particularly during the winter time, the way that the ice flows there, much of parts of the equipment and other, I'll say that improvements that are in the ground, picnic tables, sometimes those things get damaged. I think that if they really look at the potential of putting in another larger pavilion or some other structure further west on that state property, because that is state property, working with the state there. We did something there a number of years ago, made some improvements at that time in the mid to late 2000s. But there's a lot of potential there for that property, and so that grant will really come in handy for making improvements there. But I believe that the county sheriff's has they launch off the Glenville side. I forget where they go, or is it Schenectady County Community College? I forget now. They launch somewhere on that side. We'll call it the north side of the river. The south side of the river would be a good spot to have some additional space there, and make sure that the improvements are such that would accommodate maybe some larger craft than some of the smaller boats also. So anyway. And that stuff has to be removed in the winter, before the winter, so it doesn't get carried down the river or pushed up on the banks and destroyed by the ice flow. Anyway, anyone have any questions on any of the resolutions here? And Ms. McGurl is going to put something together, I think, for you to introduce for Kiwanis. No one? No? All right. Did you have on here, the board has on here executive session? Are you going into executive session?
I'll make a motion to enter into executive session to deal with personnel matter, discussion regarding potential acceptance of findings and discipline of various workplace investigations, as well as contract negotiations.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
You have a motion by Ms. Miller and a second by Mr. Christou. Okay, Ms. Mark, would you please call the roll for entering executive session?
Sure. Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Guidarelli? Who's talking? Mr. Guidarelli? I can't hear. Did you say yes?
Yes, I can hear now.
All right, okay. Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
And Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
So 5 yes. Okay.
Are we
carrying Joe
to the room?
I'm sorry?
We have to carry Joe.
I think you got to carry Joe into the room. Or call him back. Yeah, you know what? Joe, why don't you take the laptop, though, make sure it's muted, and then we'll call him from the other room.
I can I can also make this strong enough, but I think they're fine.
All right. All right, so go back in over here, thank you. The Viaport lease. So they're gonna work on that right now for a couple of minutes too, to get just everything ready, you have copies of it. That's, the Kiwanis Park, I guess, we'll wait on that, because we're trying to not have too many additional things on the agenda. So, thank you. Sorry about that. You know, something, there's a couple small typos in there, but the final one's been fixed, okay? I apologize for that. I just rewrote this and we fixed it. So on the top there, and Mr. Signor, I think, is going to introduce it. It says construction is misspelled there, so just fix that. And then the section 1 should say convert the former Kmart, not convert to former. Okay, but that's been fixed, just so everyone knows. Okay. All right, let's do this step by step, so make sure we got everything done. Is Joe on? Okay. So we went into executive session with a motion by Ms. Miller Herrera and a second by Mr. Christou at 5:30 or so p.m. Was it 5:35? And we exited executive session at 6:34 p.m. with a motion by Mr. Christou and a second by Ms. Miller Herrera, everyone voting in the affirmative to exit executive session. So at this point, what I'm going to do is call the meeting to order. And Ms. Marco, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Christou?
Present.
Mr. Gittarelli? Okay, I'll go with it. Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Present.
Mr. Signor?
Present.
And Mr. Thomason?
Present.
Hi, Joe. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Yes,
Okay, here we go.
Joe, I did the roll call, so Mr. Gittarelli?
yes.
Thank you.
All right, if
Four
you'd all,
present, one virtual.
thank you. If you'd all please stand, please, and Mr. Christou, would you lead us to the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So first order of business, the privilege of the floor. Does anyone want to be heard?
Sharon Hughes?
Hi, Sharon Hughes, 15 Jureka Parkway. To Mr. Thomasone and the Rotterdam Council, thank you so much for your service. Mr. Thomasone, we have lived in Rotterdam for 22 years. Most of that time, I'm so thankful to be here. We appreciate so much of what the board has done in all those years, and especially remember the controversy many years ago about the EMT service. The right decision was made then, and I'm so thankful to have our own EMT service. However, historically, Rotterdam can have a tendency to be somewhat short-sighted. I believe your decision to go ahead with marijuana sales and consumption as reported in the Gazette is one of them. We should be at the very least be opting out to study the matter. I apologize that I have a continuous Wednesday night commitment that keeps me from board meetings. But I wonder why you would not take advantage of time to ponder this, especially since you have had requests not to opt in and an entreaty by the Mahanasan District not to opt in. Even if that were the only plea, it would be reason enough. It matters not that what Schenectady City does. This is a family community. What example are we setting for our youth? Could you please give a reason why you don't seem to care about their pleas for more time? There is still time to change your decision. There must be better ways of raising revenue and giving a new negative opportunity for our young people. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I so hope and pray that you will reconsider and make a decision that is correct. There is still a short window of time where you could. A wrong decision may cease to have us be a nice place to live. Respectfully, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Pat Fishbo?
Supervisor and board and public. My name is Patricia.
Mr. Fishman, would you mind just pulling the microphone more towards you? Yeah, you can touch it if you don't mind, yeah. Just so you can be heard
My
better,
voice
thank you.
is soft anyway.
That's all right, yeah, that's all right, I understand.
Um, Again, my name is Patricia Fishbow. I live at 110 PNC Street here in Rotterdam. I've lived in the house, even though the address changed, from 1425 Lawn to 110 PNC since December of '66. And I have a question that I cannot find the answer, and I would like to ask the board. For some reason, it seems to be accepted in town that the property from the edge of my property line and the street and the area against the next property line belongs to the town. But I can't find, I was a former nurse, you document everything. I can't find it. I've asked different people, I've tried to go online, I asked a real estate person and she said, go to the town board and maybe they can help you find where this is documented. And it's not in my deed, it's not in my survey. So I'm asking where it's documented, that's all.
So, I will get you that answer in detail,
Okay.
but I can, just for myself, I can tell you that when I had my survey done of my property, I live on Paul Avenue, so close to you here. There's town property on a couple sides, just like you, above my property, because I'm on a corner, you're on a corner, right?
I'm out of corner.
So, I mean, it's right away for the town for water and sewer
Right.
and for roadway. And that's, I believe that's state law and town law, but we'll get that, we'll get you an answer, something that is in writing, so you'll see what that is, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That's it, Steve.
All right. Anyone else that wants to be heard this evening under privilege of the floor? Anyone else that wants to be heard under privilege of the floor tonight? Yeah, that was the first time I had my property surveyed, like a property survey where I was gonna construct a house. And I was dumbfounded by that a little bit, even, and I was young, I didn't really know what that really meant. And I come from a family where construction is part of what we did. My family did anyway, but it's there. But most of the time, you're not going to see the municipalities widen roads or anything like that in residential areas. So I don't think you're going to have any takings there. Could the town come in and replace the sewer line there or water line there or something like that? Sure, because it not only benefits you and your property, it benefits everybody else around, right? Especially if there's older infrastructure there. So that's why it's more of an entitlement for the, I shouldn't say entitlement, easement by the town to be able to come in and utilize property. But yeah, you pay for it, right? Yeah, I know. Okay. Now let's go into the resolutions.
A resolution appointing a personnel and benefits administrator.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Christou. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Miller Herrera. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Mark, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli? Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
And Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution passes. Next resolution, please.
A resolution appointing a confidential secretary to the Director of Public Works.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
Mr. Supervisor, I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Christou. Is there a second, please?
A second.
Second by Mr. Gitterelli, I think beat you there.
Okay.
Second by Mr. Gitterelli. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Mark, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomasone?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, now, I think we have to add these other this resolution.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to add a resolution authorizing an agreement with Barton and LaJudas for construction documents, services, and modification of the existing lease agreement, and reads as follows. Section 1, the Town Board of the Town of Rotterdam hereby authorizes the supervisor to execute a professional services agreement with Barton and LaJudas for construction document services to convert the former Kmart for use as a town municipal facility. Section 2, the Town Board of the Town of Rotterdam hereby authorizes the supervisor to modify the existing lease agreement with Viaport Rotterdam, specifically to modify Exhibits A and B to include the above-referenced Barton and LaJudas agreement and the revised plan to the original lease agreement. In Section 3, this resolution shall become effective December 29th, 2021.
Okay, anyone on the question?
Well, I'll second the
No,
motion.
second, okay, sorry, I apologize, yes, I apologize. So we get a motion by Mr. Signor to add, and a second by Mr. Christou. Okay. Anyone on the question at this point? No. Ms. Mark, would you call the roll to add the resolution?
Mr. Christo?
To add the resolution, yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
And Mr. Thomasone?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution passes to add, I should say the motion passes to add the resolution to the agenda. So let's read the resolution, please. This resolution is next to be voted on. Ms. Marco?
A resolution of authorizing a ban.
Nope.
No.
Oh, you mean the one,
Yep,
just
the one we
read it
just
again?
got.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. A resolution authorizing an agreement with Barton and LaJudas for construction documents, services, and modification of the existing lease agreement.
Okay, thank
I'll
you.
make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Christou. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Second by Mr. Signor. Okay, now anyone on the question? So I think I'm going to be very brief and just say that, we had department heads and employees who were involved in making suggestions and modifications along with the engineers, Barton and LaJudas, and I'll say, and I'm going to be, again, brief, but I hope that the incoming board will understand what I'm saying here, is that, you may think that there are people around that are here duty-bound by their role in government, by whatever it is that they get elected to. So they're duty-bound because when the board or when a department head gives documentation to them to proceed and put resolutions together, backup documentation and the like, so that the business of the town can proceed, and they just choose not to. And then what happens is, thinking as a department head or someone else thinking, or board member, this is going to be on the agenda, and it's not until the last minute because someone decides not to fulfill the duties of their elected position. And I'm going to tell you that because we are in a small town, people do make how should I say? I got to be careful with the words I use so people don't misconstrue. But they will pretend to have the same agenda as far as what's best for the community, whether you talk about the comprehensive plan or whatever it is that you're looking to do. And unfortunately, what happens is details get muddled because people want to take a certain position and then create controversy where there should be none. And these elected officials will continue to do that, and even people who run for office do that. This move to the mall is effective. It will help to not only, I believe, over time, create better motivated workforce, but it'll create an opportunity for the government to put together people in one area, one spot, and you'll have better control over your labor and labor resources in particular. So that's what I was trying to move towards when it came to the highway and Department of Public Works and so on. You have people that don't want that. There are people that would rather sit on their duff when it's raining or sit wherever it is and not work, and only work when they really need to. And you all know that. Those of you who've been involved in this government one way or another, whether it was through an appointment or a part-time job, full-time job, whatever it is, you know that that goes on. And it has to stop, because we cannot afford to continue to operate in this way. The town is to grow, if the town is to grow its tax base, if the town is to grow and be more effective and professional, things have to change. And if you're not willing to take on those changes, then you end up out of office. What I mean by that is because other people would not take on those changes, so I'm out, and that's fine. But those of you that are coming in, understand that you've got a lot to do here to make sure that your tax dollars are appropriately spent, because I will continue to point out those issues, and this is a good move for the town long term. To build just a building that we need for police department and town court would cost millions of dollars. To take town hall and incorporate that in a structure with the police department, and again, I've said this before, I know, and the town court would probably cost upwards of $15 million or more. This is a very conservative way to do it, and it's a way that will also help us in long term to establish more of a community center for other purposes for the town long term. So we have a motion by Mr. Christou and a second by Mr. Signor. Anyone else on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll?
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
yes,
Mrs. Miller Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
And Mr. Thomasone?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution passes. Next resolution, please.
A resolution authorizing a ban.
Can we have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Christou. Is there a second, please?
A second.
Second by Mr. Signor. He beat you that time, Joe.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Mark, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
yes,
Mrs. Miller Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
And Mr. Thomasone?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution passes. So we have a motion for consent agenda.
Mr. Supervisor, I make a motion that the remaining resolutions be ratified in the consent agenda.
Okay, may I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Ms. Miller Herrera. Okay, Ms. Marco, let's call the roll on adding the consent agenda.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
yes,
Mrs. Miller Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
And Mr. Thomasone?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay. And so the consent agenda passes. Mr. Christou, did you want to make another motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion that we accept the consent agenda.
Okay, motion by Mr. Christou. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Mr. Signor. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, please call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
yes,
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
And Mr. Thomasone?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolutions pass. All right, anyone else have anything under committee reports or miscellaneous this evening?
I'd like to take a moment, if we could, to thank the outgoing board members and supervisor for their time and dedication to the town. It's been a pleasure working with all of you, and I think this is the opportunity to really say thank you. I've learned so much from all of you, and as a resident of the town, I thank you for taking the time to do what you think is in the best interest of Rotterdam.
Mr. Supervisor, I would like to also concur with my colleague, Councilwoman Miller Herrera. It takes a lot to enter a campaign, it takes a lot to run for office, and it takes a lot to fulfill the responsibilities. I've quoted in the past Teddy Roosevelt's "Man in the Arena," look it up. But I will say that it's been an honor and a pleasure to serve with the people on this dais. We didn't always agree. We, at times, saw the path to success in different lights, but I can honestly say that these 5 people, the 4 people that sit up on this dais with myself, never had a selfish agenda. It really burns my you-know-what when I see social media posts accusing of bribes and corruption and all this other self-serving stuff, which is just, it's embarrassing, to be honest with you, to think that the media trolls, or the keyboard trolls, as one of my colleagues referred to them, actually have the audacity to post this kind of stuff. This is an honorable group of people here. Yes, doesn't mean that we're perfect, It doesn't mean that we will always agree on every decision made, but I can tell you that a lot of sweat equity is made in those decisions, and it's always with the best interest of the town of Rotterdam. And again, thank you. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you all. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Steve Signori, and thank you, Ms. Miller Herrera as well. You guys have been, and it's been an honor and pleasure, and our council, Kate McGrill also, and some of our newer comers, Elizabeth, Beth Greenwood and Sharon Tallman. You've all been, it's been a pleasure to have you as colleagues, and an honor. Thank you all.
Steve, did you want to say anything? I was just going to make some comments.
I really, you know what, I'm going to save my comments for a different forum.
Okay. If I could, and thank you very much. If you ask some people, like what's the hardest thing for them to do, sometimes they might say, it's to lose weight, quit smoking. And I just wanted to say that one of the hardest things for me to do is to say goodbye. I had 4 wonderful years up here. I have worked with the best people I could possibly have worked with. We grew to be friends, allies, confidants, you name it. We respected each other's thoughts. As Evan said, if we disagreed, it was always respectful. And I can't tell you just how proud and how privileged I am to have had an opportunity to serve my community, to be up here for 4 years and to try to hopefully make decisions that I felt was in the best interest of the town as a whole. And it's very difficult. As I once said, I wish I could come up with 20,000 answers to one problem just to make everyone happy, but you can't. I enjoyed listening to the people that came up here with their certain issues, the thought processes that went involved in this, the discourse that we would have and exchange, and just to sit there and listen and see just how influential they could be to the whole idea, the whole process here. And I thank you, and that's one of the things I'm going to miss. You may not always love, what your town board does, but that's not a reason to stop loving your town. This really is a great place to live. There are some things, I'm just going to miss. I'm going to miss these meetings with my colleagues. Probably miss adjusting my chair so I match Mrs. Miller Herrera's height. And even though my feet are dangling off the floor, miss my videographer, Ben, here, making me look good for the ladies. Thank you, Ben.
You can tell you're on your way out when you make comments like that.
Yeah, good thing, right? I don't think there's much else they can do to me. I'm going to miss those 45-minute meetings with Kate, which were only supposed to last 5. And really, probably the greatest thing that's going to bother me is I'm going to get off of here, and I'm going to have all these epiphanies of all the things I wish I could have said while I'm trying to be spontaneous here. And that's what's going to frighten me the most. All the great things I wish I had said and added in the short period I have. So just imagine I said all those great things even though you didn't
Steve,
hear them.
remember, that's what they have privilege of the floor for.
Yeah, but this for me is a solemn moment, and it's really a moment to say just thank you to everybody. I really, really did love this. And to the board coming in, you're going to have the remainder of people here, Sam and Evan, you're going to have 2 wonderful people to work with. And that means to work with, not work against. All right, you should be honored and privileged to be working with them, as I have been honored and privileged to work with them, as well as the other members of the board. So with that, let me just say good luck to you coming in. Happy New Year to everybody. Be safe, healthy, and prosperous. And thank you for everything you've done for me.
Yes, Happy New Year.
And I'd also would like to welcome our 3 new members of the board, and hopefully we can build the same kind of camaraderie and relationship over the next couple of years. We look forward to it. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else under dating services? Anyone else under privilege of the, just say whatever you want for committee reports or miscellaneous? No? Joe?
I'm not sure how well.
They can't hear you at all. I can tell you that, but.
Yeah, I really wish I was there in person, but I would just want to reiterate what everyone said there. They actually couldn't have said it any better, and I really appreciate everyone that I work with. With great working relationship, great people. I learned a lot.
We all did.
We didn't agree on everything like Evan said, but we probably didn't do everything 100% correct. But we always did what we felt was the best for the town, and I
Joe. Okay, is there a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn?
By Mr. Signor, is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Mr. Christou. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Happy New Year. Be safe.